Okay, we're here with a College Board candidate, Anastasia Foster. Anastasia, good to see you this evening.
Good evening, Democrats.
Well said. And so we want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself in terms of your campaign and why you're running for College Board. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your time. And I really just want to say, first of all, thank you to the executive committee of the Democratic Club for accommodating me. My family has a trip planned for the holiday weekend, and it was planned before you guys set the date for the weekend. So I really do appreciate you making this accommodation, and I'm sorry to be your only one. I'll try to be brief. um, I've been running this campaign for probably 14 months already, 16, 18 months already. I love this college. This city has always had a huge focus, along with Malibu, on education. And I feel like the school district is in such good hands and in such good shape. The community college is run by amazing people, but statewide funding is a real mess for the community colleges. And while our K through 12 is in such great hands, and so is our community college, I just felt like my attention was needed here. I'm running because community college is the gateway to better employment for most people who cannot afford or don't have the easy pathway to a four-year institution. And I can't think of a better place for workforce training, workforce development, retraining of folks who have watched industries change all around them. Our folks from marginalized communities of all kinds, our Black students, our brown students, our LGBTQ plus students, veterans, non-traditional students, students with disabilities. These are all groups that sometimes the four-year leave behind. And California has such a wonderful program with the Promise. So getting the word out and letting kids and communities know that we have 2 years of schooling that they can use sometimes to decide if they want to go on to a four-year program. Maybe for some kids, no one in their family has ever attended higher education or even maybe graduated high school. And so what an amazing opportunity to go to school near home, where they can still live with their families, perhaps, and go for free. I mean, that's an incredible opportunity to maybe get past those first couple awkward years of the 18, 19-year-old range, or maybe come back after you've gotten a GED and start again. I mean, cities like ours and communities like ours that have great privilege, we owe it to folks to really develop this part of education, because I really think we have a great handle on the rest of it.
Great. And so one question I wanted to ask you is, when you think about transitioning from the great work you've done on the rent control board over the last 8 years over to College Board, what are the specific policy takeaways from working in the rent control space? And also just as a experienced elected official in the city, what lessons do you take from those 8 years that you'll be able to apply here? Because I think, fast forward a few months and maybe someone who hasn't got in the race yet may say that they're potentially they'll say, "Oh, I'm experienced in this education background or whatever." So I want to give you the opportunity to talk about the experience that you've had in rent control board space and how you could apply that here.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd like to go back to the second part of your question. I have a background in education. A lot of people don't know that about me. My degree is in secondary education and history. I started out as a teacher, and my mother was a teacher of English and social studies, and then she went back to school when I was in middle school and got her master's in counseling, and started an at-risk youth program to keep kids from dropping out at my public high school, which that program went on to great success, and I watched her build it as a young person. So I do have a background in education and teaching. But to the main point of your question, yeah, the 8.5 years I've spent on the rent board, incredible. incredible. I wish I didn't have to leave. I loved that work. We were both quasi-judicial and legislative, if you will, conceiving of policy, vetting policy with stakeholder groups like the Dem Club, like SMER, like others, landlords, everybody, understanding the law, the processes, how it works, running an institution. We were a private fee-based, governmental branch. We're not part of the city of Santa Monica tax base. So learning to run and maintain that budget, to work with 3 different bargaining groups within our staff at the Rent Control Board, all of those things, prepared me for this. And I don't purport to know every single thing about the community college program yet. Yet. I probably will eventually. But the process, the ability to work with my colleagues, the ability to work with groups across town, who are not part of the college. So the SMMUSD, the city of Santa Monica, to work with everybody in Malibu and Santa Monica. I'm going to continue to do that, as I think I've demonstrated I can do on the rent board. And even more so, they say that the rent board is what you make of it. So, I mean, you can just show up dutifully once a month and follow the process and cast a vote. And that's perfectly great. But you can also do what I and a lot of other people have managed to do, which is use it to really, really network and meet wonderful people in the legislative space and government. I've been a speaker at Housing California. We've put together panels at Housing California more than once, meeting and speaking to people all up and down the state in that space. I've developed wonderful relationships with our legislators at every level. And that really comes in handy when, for example, our Assemblyman Rick Zabur called me up, a year ago and said, I'm thinking about this rent control bill that West Hollywood is interested in. I want to run it by you. I mean, that's what I hope to bring to the College Board, are those kinds of relationships and hopefully my good reputation, and what I think is a good reputation for working with others.
Thanks. Let's go to Isabel next.
Hi, Anastasia. So,
Hi, Isabel.
everybody here, I have known you mainly as the rent control expert and someone who advocates for renters. But I was interested to see on your questionnaire that you've been on the general advisory board for the college for 7 years. So I was wondering, in those, 7 years of doing that, what do you consider to be kind of your greatest contributions or accomplishments that maybe we haven't known about because we didn't know you were doing this work on for the college?
Yeah, thanks. The General Advisory Board is wonderful, and really it's part of the community, a community college. It's right there in the name, right? It's more than just an institution of higher education. It's also a partner to the local community, maybe in the way that a larger university can't be. The amazing, what we do on the General Advisory Board is the college is making sure that people in the community know what's going on at the college and know what contributions the college is making to the community. And so over those 7 years, we would have, it kind of jumped around there. For a while, it was monthly, then it was quarterly, and then COVID, it was on Zoom. But basically, I learned about a degree program or an associate's program every single meeting. So maybe the photography department, or the new UX degree, which is a 4-year degree. We do have a couple of those. They would come and give us program notes, bring students who had completed a degree or transferred in those fields. And so told us all about many, many, many different degree programs. But in addition to that, they always made sure we were learning about the programming at the college. And by this, I mean the clubs. I think there are over 120 clubs at SMC. Everything from Black Collegians, Adelante for our Spanish speaking, where Spanish was the first language in their home, and Latin culture, Native American, LGBT, veterans, chess players, singers, dancers. There's a club for every single background and every hobby at that college. And the task they're tasked with is making sure students get through and have a support system. We learned a lot about that. Toured many facilities, as part of the GAB. So our job as members of the GAB is more to receive information rather than to give. But by the same token, so one of the things I did was I worked with a current trustee and former Dem Club co-president Shai Roy to help work with him on bringing back the CNA program back to SMC. So the Certified Nurses Assistant. It's an area where those of us who have had parents in assisted living of any kind or nursing homes know that that's a wonderful vocation that is tough. And it's tough for the buildings to keep those positions full. And we used to have a program and, helped bring it back, but it was those connections that we made through the GAB always that are bringing the community closer to the college.
Thanks.
Let's go to Keith.
Great. Thanks so much, Anastasia. It's wonderful to see you, and do appreciate you again just sharing with us, your discovery of collaboration and communication and this collective in terms of people. It really is about people and building those relationships. So really do appreciate that. In part of your questionnaire, you were talking about budget, and your remarks too just now about budget, state budget. But in your questionnaire, you mentioned about four-year universities and, maybe they have billion-dollar endowments and et cetera. Can you share with us any ideas that you may have relative to perhaps ideas and solutions to increase SMC's endowment? And I actually don't know what SMC's endowment is, but any ideas about trying to shore up SMC's finances in the endowment area?
Yeah, I sure do. It's kind of a two-pronged situation, Keith. You're right. I did point that out in my questionnaire. SMC doesn't have so much an endowment. The community colleges don't have that traditional structure. What they have are reserves. They have strategic reserves. And as a matter of fact, the state requires a minimum reserves as a percentage of, it has to be a percentage of your average budget over a certain period of time. So 40 of the 115 community colleges in California are in financial jeopardy since the pandemic. And we're close. We're real close. So San Francisco Community College is currently being taken over by the state. So when your reserves reach a certain point, the state takes you over unless you present a good plan for getting out of it. So we are blessed and cursed at Santa Monica College. We have had an administrative staff who has found money and just fought and scraped for sources of funding over the years and kept SMC strong. I mean, like really strong. And we're among the top paying colleges of the community college system for our faculty and classified staff with wonderful benefits. And we of course want to keep that intact and going strong. The truth is the state is messing with us. Higher education funding formulas, and I know a lot of you who are, Keith, your time on SMMUSD, Patricia, your time on SMMUSD, you all know that the state funding formula for K through 12 has been fairly at least predictable. It's at least been uniform. It's either paying per head or basic aid. At least you knew what you were working with and that your citizenry, if they want to tax themselves, could pass ballot measures and add to it. The community colleges, it's a completely different animal. And they have changed the funding formula to these random sets of criteria over the years that make no sense. Plus, you've got units that are working against themselves. And what I mean by that is you may have, I think it's 119 community colleges, but LACC makes up, 14 of those. So you've got LACC, but it's this huge behemoth that's right next door to us, which we are one unit, right? Santa Monica College. You've also got the UCs and CSUs working against us. while at the same time depending on us. I'll give you an example. UCLA depends on us and our transfers to show off that they have amazing diversity in the spots where they do, because we give them their 3rd and 4th year students, because we are the highest transfer school, as you know, and we are also the highest transfer school. Black and brown students from our college fare exceptionally well at the UCs and CSUs. I'd like to see UCLA, with its $7.8 billion endowment, give back a little. Students are getting their first 2 years of general ed requirements out of the way with us. They are getting amazing counseling and wraparound services with us for those first 2 years before going on. So I'd like to look at a little bit of collaboration, with some of these more fortunate schools. But also, and really the meat of it is to get some continuity and stability in the community college financing model. I mentioned this at my SMER interview the other day, but on their way out, the last chancellor and the last governor made this huge change in the funding formula for community colleges. And the chancellor dropped it in the governor's lap, and the governor dropped it in the community college's lap, and they both pieced out. And it's called outcomes-based model. And it has been tried in a few places, and it often fails. No one has a good handle on what that is or what it looks like at the end of the day. There's not enough funding to see our way through it on an experimental basis. And you cannot have the best faculty and staff who have some job security for themselves and their families when your funding goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Santa Monica College does an amazing job. They are a top tier community college. And even with that, outcomes-based, it has the potential to be a nightmare. And so what the state has done is for 6 years, they have given us this program called Hold Harmless, where basically they just sub in whatever you had last year for a budget and give you a COLA adjustment and send you on your way, threatening to do the outcomes-based evaluation the very next year. And then they suddenly extend it again. And then they suddenly extend it, Hold Harmless, again and again and again. 6 years, 6 times they've done this. And so it's really hard to do long-term planning, long-range planning. It's very stressful on the administration and the faculty. And so I really want to work hard to get the UCs and CSUs to stop working against us and start working with us, and to go and get what we're due as the community college program.
Great. Thanks for deliberating on that. Thanks.
Let's go to Lynn next.
Yes, hi, Anastasia.
Hi, Lynn.
So nice to see you. And I really enjoyed reading your answers to the questionnaire. I feel like I got to know you a whole lot better.
Oh, thank you.
And so impressed with all your experience. Oh my gosh, it was very, very impressive. My question has to do with the emeritus program. I'm a senior. So to me, and I know a lot of people are think that the emeritus program at the college is really important. And I'm wondering what you think of that program, and if there's any, if there are any ways that you could improve it.
Thanks for the question. So I will say, yeah, the program enjoys an amazing reputation. It is highly utilized. Most colleges have a program similar to ours. Ours has a really, really high uptake rate. And I know that we're really proud of that, both for Santa Monica and Malibu. And the new facility, if any of you have not yet been to the new facility in Malibu, I encourage you to go next time you're driving the PCH and check it out. It's amazing. Lynn, I spent 2 hours on the campus the other day getting an in-depth, I mean, down in the boiler room and in the storage facilities of the main campus with our friend Linda Sullivan. And I'm actually meeting her tomorrow to go through the media campus where KCRW is. I haven't made it over to the Emeritus building yet because, contrary to popular opinion, I'm not ready for the Emeritus College quite yet. But I absolutely, it's on my list to go tour their space, but I know the program is strong and they are always actively taking input from the community. You know, Park Skelton still does our mail. SMC, if you live here, you know the mail floods your mailbox with so much information, so much resourcefulness at the college. They want to make sure you know every single thing that's going on, because they take that role in the community very seriously. So they really make sure, and we know folks do read their mail, demographically speaking. All of us in politics know what age groups tend to really love that snail mail. And so we know that the seniors are aware of the programming, and you should know that the college is always receptive to your areas of interest. So Lynn, I will promise to get back with you specifically after I take that tour and dive into their programming a little bit more.
Thank you. I do take 2 classes there, and I have to say you're exactly right. They're very, very good and very popular.
Good.
All right, Sam, you're up.
This is sort of on the other side. What role do you see high school students taking SMC courses for the community, and how will you be able to encourage young people to get into that process and encourage them to continue their interests and show demonstrated interest in their field of study?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, I did put that in my questionnaire. I really enjoyed that. I was glad that that question was there. Concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment, what a gift. Oh my goodness, I wish they'd had that when I was going to high school. The best we had were a couple of AP courses. High school students, whether they are rich, poor, or somewhere in between, what a gift to have free college courses being taught at the exact same time you are getting credit for them in high school. And starting either community college or a 4-year with that many fewer courses you will need to take in general ed. And in some cases, even more advanced coursework. It reduces the financial burden on our students once they get to higher education. It can reduce the time from when they graduate high school to when they get into the job market, if that's what they want. It can also reduce the time for them to transfer to a 4-year university. But Sam, to answer the other part of your question, marketing, marketing, marketing. And I know that we already do a pretty darn good job of this because we have a really high uptake rate, again, from Malibu and Samo High. And we just need to broaden it. I mean, we need to offer more and more and more. And it's great that Samo High is a school of choice, because that means we're exposing kids from all over the west side of LA, in many cases, 2 of the great classes that we have at SMC as well. And with all those wraparound services and that support, to your last point, Sam, I really think that could encourage kids who might otherwise be on the fence about whether or not they want or need or are capable of pursuing higher education to go. I know that kids who have availed themselves of the dual or concurrent enrollment are more likely to make it to year 2 in community college. Making it to year 2 is a huge, huge deal that I think before I got more involved, I didn't quite realize how big of a deal it was for a lot of kids, for first-time college students to get to year 2. It's really important.
Thanks. We'll go to Natalia next. Isabel, I want to make sure everyone has a chance to ask their first question, but then we'll come back.
Hey, Anastasia. I've really enjoyed hearing your answers so far. In your questionnaire, you noted that one of the top goals that you wanted to achieve is increasing enrollment, and you already talked a little bit about budget, and I know that international students pay a bit more and kind of help with our SMC budget. So I was just curious, how do you see SMC increasing enrollment, and what place do international students have in that?
It's a great question. They have a big role in that, but it's funny because it's fluctuated over the years. Some of the work I've been doing to get ready for hopefully serving on the board of trustees is I've been meeting with every single trustee, past, and some even former trustees, and administrators from the college, learning the rich history of this college. 1929, I mean, created as part of the SMMUSD school district. It's as far as bringing in students from the outside, it wasn't always just Santa Monica students or Malibu. We were bringing in students from LA, of course, and the city of LA sponsored legislation to force us to stop doing that, for instance. We weren't allowed to do enrollment of students outside of your school district boundary, for instance. When we started seeing an influx of foreign students, it was affected greatly by both the economic downturn, 2008, 2009, and then again during COVID. We also used to not be able to charge as much for foreign students and out-of-state students. It was limited what you could charge them. And so we really felt like we were missing an opportunity there. And so some folks at the college got some legislators to sponsor legislation that passed to allow us to charge out-of-state and foreign students more per credit hour. And that resulted in a $6 million annual increase to the budget almost right away. It plays a role. I know some people think a community college has, what business do we have, working with kids from out of state or out of the country? We're serving, LA is a global community. There are people coming and going from every corner of the world. And as long as we have the capacity, which we do, to serve our LA-based students and Santa Monica and Malibu-based students, we certainly do, especially with the rise of online education. Some people don't like that either. They think, classroom is where everybody belongs. And I would agree that to whatever extent you can, students should experience the wraparound services, the support services, the clubs, the atmosphere of our great campuses. But for foreign students and students maybe with young families, or they're caring for family members in their home, our online services are still helping to bring in great revenues for the college. And we hope that'll continue. And for this is serving the families of foreign students as well. They're getting a great benefit out of it. Some of them who can't get into the UCs right away are using us as a stepping stone to get into those. And it benefits us and them. There are visa situations that their families are, working with the U.S. government on. It's a much bigger story than people realize. But it's something I think the college has handled well to date, and I hope we keep doing so in the future.
Okay, I see Mike's up. He just got into the queue, so we'll go to Mike now.
Anastasia. So after many, many years, it looks like the college is actually going to build some student housing on its public land. And what do you see as the role of that housing? Who should it serve? And to the extent we're partnering with UCLA, what role do you see us having on our land and discussing with them who their portion of the housing should serve?
Yeah, unlike other state institutions, we are actually using our surplus land for housing. And we're hopefully going to do it. My first wish is that it all be affordable, that it serve our lower income students, homeless students, students facing homelessness, formerly homeless students of all ages. That is who it should serve first, and to the greatest extent that we can. There was a little trepidation, I think, on the part of the current, faculty and staff and administration and trustees at the college about housing. Some folks weren't sure if we should be, going into this new area. And part of the concern is liability. Residential facilities can be fraught with some potential complications and potential liabilities. And it's not something that anybody in the community college system has deep experience or a deep background in. So when UCLA stepped up and said, you all have something we need, which is space, that could potentially be an amazing marriage of resources and experience. We have the land and the airspace, and they have the money. and they have the experience of running housing for students. So I think in any partnership, there has to be give and take. I think that Santa Monica College should be able to have some sort of say or vote or veto power over the aspects of the deal. And I think they should have slightly more say so than UCLA, because if it comes right down to it, we can do it without them. It might take a little more money and a little longer, but we can do it without them. They need us more than we need them, I believe. And so I want to see most of the housing go to students who need it. We have some faculty and staff who could need housing, and so it could go to them as well. To the extent that there's a mix of students who can pay, foreign students who can pay, and UCLA, if that's the part of the mix that UCLA wants to fulfill, I'd like to see everyone living together and not separate. I'd like to see wraparound services and support services in this little village that they're envisioning. We're talking about up to 1,500 units potentially, up from the few hundred that we were talking about building alone. So that's a pretty, and maintaining control of that's a pretty tremendous asset, I think, to bring onto unused land that's just a big empty parking lot. So as we move away from cars and we move to more sustainable transportation and better public infrastructure and transportation, this just makes perfect sense to me. And I think we should go as big as we can.
All right, Isabel, you get the last question in.
I have to unmute. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I get to ask you this. So in reading your questionnaire, Anastasia, I saw you put yourself through school, and so did I. So you have some understanding and experience of how tough that can be as a young person. And we know that many of the community college students, they find it really a challenge to finish their courses, finish either their certificate or their degree. I went to look for statistics, and I found something from, let's see, through 2018, it was like 10 to 16% completion, which means either finishing a certificate, a degree, or transferring to a UC. And the goal was that by 2025, it would be up to 26%, which still does not seem that high to me. But what are your ideas about helping students complete their courses, finish their certificates, finish their degrees, especially in light of, we have maybe some of the less advantaged students at the community college, and so helping them get all the way through.
Great question, and a totally fair question. Do you remember a little bit earlier I was referring to that year 2 concept? It's a huge milestone in community college to get folks past year 2. So to support that effort, you've got to have a really high counselor to student ratio.
Mm-hmm.
We count that as part of our faculty. So we have one of the best ratios in the state. And that is why I believe the latest, and I don't have it right in front of me, Isabel, I want to say 60 to 70% of our transfers are students of color, which the college is extremely proud of that. It far surpasses most community college districts in the state. It can always be better. Those wraparound services, those counseling services, it's called pathways. We are constantly giving the staff the highest levels of training in nurturing students of all backgrounds, socioeconomic status. There was a question about what would I do to improve DEI at the college? They're amazing at it already. So anything we do is going to be just little incremental gains on top of already really stellar gains. We just have to support these students. We have to show them the pathways. And I think the college does a really good job of that. And they are always looking for ways to improve it. And when we do need to hire a new college president, I'll be part of the 7 people who are deciding who that is. And so things like exactly what you just said, Isabel, that's something I'll definitely be looking for when Dr. Jeffrey decides to retire. We need to get these kids up and out.
Thanks.
Okay, well, Anastasia, thanks so much. We could surely stay here all night and asking more questions, but we have to get on to the next candidate. So thank you so much for being here, and look good luck in the race, and we'll see you at the debate in next week.
Thank you so much. Also, I just want to say a big congratulations to Mr. Silent down there, Derek Devermont, for winning re-election to the DNC.
Yeah.
We're proud of him. We had a great time at the convention. We did not escape unscathed, though. I just wanted to let everybody know we Santa Monica delegation and friends of our club. We had some successes and some heartbreak in our ranks, and so just want to acknowledge that but say congratulations to Derek and thank you to the club. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Anastasia.
All right.
Thanks.
Good night.